fear is probably dying with no one knowing of any contribution I'd ever made to creative music. But that's cool because I made an album already that I'm so proud of that, you know, if I died tomorrow, touch wood, you know, I would still feel fulfilled in a different way.
The world is yours, and I'ma do it for all my niggas and all my haters who talking like we ain't all in and we ain't getting paper. No, I'm in my zone, and no, we never fake it. Ride for my niggas all day, all day. I'ma die for my city all day. Oh, the world is crazy these days. Maybe seem kinda strange to a nigga like me. My mama told me, thank God, keep my head in the game. What's the G off in this game? Got a nigga like me. I see this shit as clear as day. Even in my sleep. And so I pull out my chain. Be the fresh I can be. So I hate to stay off in your lane. Now you can't do it like me. I'll be the coolest on the block. It's your boy, J. This for all my shorties that be getting money. This for all my niggas that be getting money. In this generation, ain't no hesitation. Wake up in the morning, you know I be on it. Living for the moment, you know I be on it. I'm crowd surfing, ain't no denying the high performance. Fuck a hater, try to tell me how to be now. Judging me on style, vocabulary, performance, not ordinary, original. Tell the haters simmer down. Focus on this life that I'm living now. Living now, 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 now,
Welcome back to another episode of the T.O.P Cast. That was my young homie Jay Geezer with my favorite intro song, Free World. Sorry about that. Tonight, you joining me for episode number 2 of Chess Talk, talking about the King, featuring none other than your Grace's game advisor, Captain Saver Bro, King Dre. So this show is about the King and I, and we gonna kick it to you guys about what it really, really takes to walk in the shoes of a king. Because I see and hear a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with. So we gonna give you our point of view. Welcome back, Dre. You've been to the show many a times. Before we get started, could you just plug your social media so that people know where to find you at? And also, all of your social media links are in the video description below.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, just find me on Kingdreism, Kingdreism. Appreciate you for having me on, bro.
Oh, no doubt, man. It's always love when you come through. You know, like I said, you're not a stranger to the T.O.P Cast. You've been here quite a few times, and we even did a chop up when way back when I first started, like 2019. So I appreciate you just as much for coming through. So, like, I've been noticing, man, I don't like black people or nobody really to call me brother. You know how we be like, you know, what's up, brother? I hate that shit. And I don't like it because people usually don't end up treating you like you would think that you would treat your brother. You know, like the Bible say, you want for your brother the same that you want for yourself. But right. I noticed the same kind of phenomenon happening online and in this red pill space where guys throw a lot of terms around, and specifically they throw around the term king. You hear a lot of guys, yo, what's up, king? And king this and king that. And coming from a king, King Dre, have you noticed that yourself? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I actually did notice that. As far as my thoughts on it, I don't really see it as, I think people need to be especially men in this space, I think they need a little bit of upliftment. And I'll tell you a story why, right? Because when I was younger, I didn't get it. I had a guy that used to mentor me, like an older brother to me, right? And we was doing the street thing and shit, and he was like way ahead of the game. He was out of the streets and doing his family and shit. But I used to hang with his little brother, and so he kind of took a liking to me. But he was like one of these guys. He was like woke back then, like woke and like fucking. You remember the woke guys, kind of like on the Israelite vibe in the early 2000s and shit. Like he was like that way back then, right? Just a righteous brother, righteous dude. And he would call us king, and I didn't get it. And I didn't get it until older. And we had when I was older, a lot older, we had a conversation. And he was just like, I just wanted to give you guys, something to look up to. I wanted to speak life into you guys instead of, uh, being derogatory and shit like that. I wanted to see you guys. I wanted you guys to have that confidence and feel like that about yourself, even when y'all didn't feel like that and y'all was out here ripping and running and doing all type of wild shit. So being as though I had that, and that's honestly why I always called myself that in the first place, because of that guy. My older brother. It's not my real brother, but he's just like mentored me and shit. So I understand why now. I understand, but I think people, like with the brother thing, I think people kind of throw it around and use it loosely, right? And sometimes guys can get a false sense of a false sense of like they don't have to do the work. That's my problem with it. Guys feel like they don't have to do the work, and they think people are just gonna treat them like that, and you just it's like the high value shit. Everybody throwing that shit around too. You understand? So that's my take on it. I don't too much have a problem with it, and I understand why. You feel me?
Oh, absolutely. When I was coming up, before I went to and did my little time in prison, and right after I got out, I experienced the same kind of thing with the Nation of Gods of Earth. That's pretty much the part of the reasoning for calling ourselves gods.
Right.
With a little g. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but I want to touch on the last point that you made. And this is where the problem lies for me, or at least in part, is that people throw the term around loosely, but they don't. There's nothing behind it to back it up. So if you go, for example, if you go call yourself a God body, for example, then you have to embody that. Otherwise you just speaking empty rhetoric. And for the most part, that's what I have a tendency to see going on online is mostly empty rhetoric. And most of these guys, they don't even regard other guys like that, even though they say, what's up, King? We don't even really treat each other like that.
Right. Yeah, that's the part that's kind of sucky. Like you'd be like, oh king, but then you talk shit about me behind my back. I believe if you truly gonna call someone that, you stand on that. If you're gonna call me your brother, then you stand on that. Then treat me like that. So I definitely understand it. And again, I understand because guys, man, a lot of these guys, and I coach, man. I coach on a different level. You know what I'm saying? Like I coach a lot of guys, man, a lot of young guys, and they need that. Honestly, they really need it because they don't believe in themselves. They have literally no guidance. They grew up with shitty mothers. You understand what I'm saying? Black, it's crazy. You would think it's just black people, but it's way more than that. But just to see that these guys, like, they need life speaking into them. So I get it, but at the end of the day, just because somebody call you that, don't make you have to actually live up to that. You're not gonna get the trophy for just showing up. You got to live up to that. And these guys get comfortable in hearing king, high value, and then they go parrot their shit online, and then when you ask them what they doing, I'm trying to get it together, I'm trying to do this. I know you be seeing them say that, I'm trying to do this, and I'm just nah, so that's my problem with it, if there is one.
Indeed. It's very unfortunate, man, that I try to hold feet. It's very unfortunate that a lot of guys have been raised by women, and
Right.
it's because women are not men, so they can't pass down certain things to young male children no more than a man could pass down certain things to a female child.
Right.
So it's very important, and that goes into my next point, being that I'm a chess player. I've been playing. Seem like forever. I think I owe Jesus like $5 right about now.
Right.
But I know that you play chess.
Right.
And so I want to use chess as an analogy so that guys can kind of have a concept of what it means to be a king, what all you have to embody, if
Right.
you're really going to hold that title.
Right.
And, I think these kind of things, these kind of talks are needed, you know what I'm saying? Because it's more reality based in reality and not just, a hype word or the new word that's a fad, because in 6 months we'll be calling each other something else.
Right.
A lot of guys believe, and I'm pretty sure you've heard the cliche before, that the queen is the most powerful piece on the chessboard. First, I would like to know, as a chess player, from the game, whether that's true or not.
No, that's not true.
Okay. Stop. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you
Okay.
right there, because I'm gonna extrapolate that to say that if the king represents men and the queen represents women, then that lets you know right there that the game is about you as the man.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the listeners.
Right.
All right, but please continue with your thought.
Now you have the queen works for the king. The queen got to die in most cases, not all cases, but the queen and if you playing a chess game with two decent people, the queen more than likely gonna go out first. Especially if you're playing with an aggressive player. In an aggressive environment, the queen usually goes out first. So the queen basically lays her life on the line to see to it that the queen is safe. When the more you're out there, there's no coincidence why the queen can move all different ways, and she can move any way other piece can. But the fuck me, bro, I ain't played chess in so long. The fucking horse, I sound crazy right now, but she can move any other. She can move any other piece, right? But I know to the untrained eye and to the untrained mind, it's like, oh, she's the most powerful because of all of the moves she has. No, she has to put herself out there to be touched more than anybody else. She's not really protected. You understand what I'm saying? So no, the queen is not the most powerful piece on the board. It's not.
I agree with you 100%, and to push my point and really make it clear for people who don't play chess, and even those who are listening who may do play chess, try to play a game of chess.
The knight. Sorry about that, bro. Knight.
Oh no problem. Try to play a game of chess without a king on the board. There is no game to be played. Yeah. But you can play a game of chess if you take both of the queens off the board.
Right.
And as far as the way the queen moves, again, I'm extrapolating this, or, guys should be doing this in their mind as we're, talking. Just substitute the word king for man and queen for woman. But the way the queen move is different than the way the king move. And we'll get into that. And it's no different than women moving different than the way men do. Right. And once you have an understanding of what the queen can do, then you know how to utilize her in the game, which revolves around you.
Right.
Now, that's because I really want to draw the point home that there is no game without the man or without the king. This is why the onus is always on the man. This is why the man is always held accountable and is most responsible. Because it's all at the end of the day, it's all about us, fellas. Because women, as much as they say it, it's not true. They're not independent. They are dependent upon us, and we're self-reliant, but we are dependent on nature. And you guys have to understand these things, because I'm really just talking about the mechanics of how things work. Salute to you, Black Rain. Some of the things about the king, I'm pretty sure you've heard the cliche before, that heavy is the head that wears
the crown.
That wears the crown, and there's reasons for that. And one reason I just spoke on, and that is that ultimately, because the game is about the king, and the king is the most important, he's also the most accountable. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that a lot of guys, they're not as bad with it as these women are, but I don't expect them to be. I give women a little bit of leeway on that because they women. I expect them to be like that. But a lot of guys, at least in some cases, they don't want to be accountable. Can you speak to some experience you have, maybe not being accountable yourself, or in your dating coach practice of when guys are not being accountable for their actions, which resulted in the reaction that they got?
Now, as far as for me, I can't ever really think of a time where I didn't have to be accountable. My mother raised me. She wouldn't let me not take accountability for my actions all the way as a baby. So I never been in this world and not had to be held accountable or not taking responsibility for my actions. As far as with these guys, if you look at this community as a whole, everything is blamed on the man. I mean, on the woman, on the women. Women ain't shit. Women this. Women are this. I did on my live stream last night. I talked about how, the woman was saying, she has a choice between two guys. Guy A is the guy who, tells her she pretty, then fucks her and runs off and go fuck other women. But, he gives her a challenge and she have to chase them. And guy B is nice, sweet, not dominant, lets her run all over him. And, she was saying, but he does this to every other woman, right? He does this with every other woman. He's basically easily conquered, right? So guys were sending me this video in droves, right? Like, oh, look and see, women don't know what they want. They have bad judge of character because they like guy A, but what they failed to do is look in the mirror and say, hey, if they had accountability, they would see what she was saying. Guy B is the nice guy, is basically the equivalent of a male whore. I mean, of a female whore, the guy who's easily conquered by women, because that's how we measure being conquered as a man. A man is conquered when a woman get his heart and his resources. A woman is conquered when a man get her mind and her body. So if a woman, simps and nice guys get conquered easily by any woman that smiles at them. And so that's what this woman was saying about guy B, and that's why she's not attracted to him. But most guys didn't see it like that because they don't have accountability. So when they being as though they don't have accountability, they keep lacking in game. They don't have the opportunity to grow and truly learn. And that's what I tried to teach them. You understand? So that's just one instance of how guys don't take accountability for their actions.
Yeah, I've said the same thing. I've extrapolated even a little further and contextualized it by saying that a lot of black men in this YouTube space, they fail to take accountability, at least in regards to what these women are saying, because
right.
As much as we don't like it, you know what I'm saying, and even as crazy as we think women are, every now and then they actually have a point.
Right.
And so a lot of guys don't understand that as a man, when you subject to another man, women can't really, really respect and submit to you like they should. And that in terms of just material things, like house, car, money, rings, clothes, shit like that. Black women are looking at black men and saying, we don't need you for that. We can just get it from the white man, where you get your shit from, nigga.
Right.
And niggas act like they don't understand that. And I noticed that we as a group, all of us, we don't take accountability for that. And I keep saying to guys that the only way we go get black women to ever be how we want them to be is we have to do essentially the same thing that white man did.
Right.
You have to provide an environment to produce the kind of women that you want. And if you don't do that, then you really don't have a leg to stand on to complain about what these women are doing. Because at the end of the day, we all just organisms trying to survive. And we go do what we got to do.
Right, right.
And that's what I see as a lack of accountability, again, contextualized in the entire space. Because I don't want to point no one individual person out, because it's on all of us, really, as far as I'm concerned, especially since we call ourselves kings, we refer to each other as kings, and we say that we used to be kings 6,000 years ago. So, again, that takes me right into my next point, which is in chess, the king is the leader of his little army.
Right.
In other words, every move that each piece make is like a dictate from the king. And so that therefore the king has a role as a leader. Right. And I noticed that a lot of guys, man, among all of the other problems these guys have, they lack leadership skills. And I really think, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, that it's a tragedy that a lot of guys was raised by women, because women can't teach you how to be a leader. And it's because they followers by nature, even though they'll never tell you that. You understand what I'm saying? But could you speak on the importance, or let's first speak on the prerequisites of what will even make you qualified to be a leader, and then the importance of being a leader, not only of yourself, but of other people?
Well, I'll say that, start off by saying first, in the words of the great Jay Prince, he says, a shepherd without a flock is not truly a shepherd. He's just a lonely man with a stick, right? If you don't take care of people, there's nobody following you, you are not a king. You are not a leader. You can't be a leader with no following. You understand what I'm saying? That's first and foremost. It's just like saying, hey, I'm a PhD and I don't have a PhD. Hey, I'm a doctor and I don't have the credentials. Or calling yourself a player, you never had women. You can't be a leader. You can't call yourself a leader if people ain't following you. And you don't have to have, a whole country and shit, but shit, just your children. Do your children follow you? You understand? Do you take care of your children? Do you take care of your small domain? And if you don't have that, then you're not a leader, not yet, at least. So, you gotta, if a shepherd is not truly a shepherd, a shepherd is not truly a shepherd without a flock. He's just a lonely man with a stick, so that's first and foremost. What was the second part to that question?
Just basically, what does it take to be a leader of yourself and of people?
Well,
what would be like the qualifications of that?
All right, so like as far as being a leader, you got to be able to lead yourself. That's first and foremost. And as far as yourself, you have to be able to control yourself. You have to be able to be disciplined. You can't be intemperance and shit like that. You have to be able to make decisions. You have to know where you're going. You have to have a plan. You have to have boundaries. You have to have a code for yourself. And then when it comes to other people, you have to be able to teach people. You have to be able to guide people. You have to be able to upgrade people. You have to be able to, take responsibility for the people that you lead. You have to be able to take responsibility for the people that you lead. I'm going to say it again for the guys that's listening. You have to be able to take responsibility for the people that you lead. When you the head, the heat come at you, not your subject. So you have to make sure they okay. You have to teach them right, because they gonna get, when something happened with them, you gonna take the fall for that. If something happens at Amazon, what name you see in the paper? Jeff Bezos, right? If something happens with Microsoft, what name you see in the paper? You see Bill Gates, right? So you have to be able to be accountable. You can't just say you're a leader and then you're not accountable and responsible for people. You also have to be able to extract value from the people that follow you. You have to get them to see the value in themselves, and you have to extract this value in a way that it is beneficial to everybody involved. You understand? So that's just some of the things that it takes to be a leader. You have to be able to take criticism. You have to be able to take scrutiny. You have to be able to be, basically nailed to the cross, so to speak. You have to be able to deal with that as a king and as a leader. And if you don't have any of that, you're not a king, you're not a leader.
And I just want to say that, it's nothing wrong with you not being a king, because again, it takes both the king and his subjects in order for this thing to work. And that was a point that I just wanted to highlight, is that the king, you said it, is not a king without any followers. And so the king, just as much as the king is needed, the followers are needed also. And we can extrapolate this to the greater society. Like I said earlier, we as men are self-reliant, meaning that if you leave us alone by ourselves, we'll figure out a way to survive, and we don't need any other help. But that's not really so much the case for women. It would have to be an extreme case for women to start doing the things that men do normally, is what I'm saying.
Right. Right.
But before we continue, Top wants to help you guys out with getting some free resources. And what you need to do is to do this. Crypto is the wave of the future. Really, digital money is the wave of the future. And to be perfectly honest, if you know anything about fractional reserve banking, then you'll understand that 95% of the money supply is already digital. It exists on computer bank ledgers. So you can get you $40 of free Bitcoin if you deposit $400 on Celsius Network for 30 days. That means you get 10% return on your deposit. And you don't have to spend it. You just put it up there, leave it up there. It's going to accrue some interest, and then you just take your money back, and you have $40 of free Bitcoin. Also, you get $10 of Bitcoin if you join Coinbase and you use my promo code and you deposit $100. You could take your money right back off, but you get 10% just for doing it. And last but not least, you get $10 of free Bitcoin if you use my promo code and join Gemini. It looks just like Coinbase. They probably owned by the same people. I don't think so. Not quite sure, but you get $10 of free Bitcoin when you when you deposit and trade $100. That's free money for you and free money for me. Digital money is the future. Get hip. Anyway, something else that I noticed that a lot of guys struggle with when it comes to dealing with women, and this in part ties in to the leadership thing, and that is a lot of guys, they don't know how to give women direction, and it's a big debate going on now online as to whether or not Black women even deserve protection. So these are two things that are also responsibilities of a king. And in your opinion, what do you think, or how do you think these things should be made use of, and under what conditions would somebody qualify for those things from a king, a king's protection and the direction that he could give. What does he even have to have in order to be able to give those things?
He has to have confidence, right? He has to have confidence, and he got to know where the fuck he going. Like, ain't nobody gonna follow you if you don't know where you going. And all it takes is to basically just do your thing, man. Do your thing and do what you have a destination and do that. And the people that want protection, and this is just speaking to, do black women deserve protection and all that shit, right? Do your thing, and the people who want protection will come to you. Those who don't won't. Fuck them. You understand what I'm saying? But you got to have a program. You got to have a destination. You got to know where you're going. Or else ain't nobody gonna follow you for shit. And a lot of guys don't know where they're going. They don't know what they want. They don't have direction, and they think people just gonna show up and just follow them. Follow you where? Off a cliff? No, it don't work like that. This is survival. This is serious. This ain't no play game. Nobody's going to follow you off of a cliff. So, do your thing and know what you're doing. Be competent at what you're doing, and people will follow you. Women included.
Indeed, I agree 100%. To extrapolate it to the game of chess, the way I play, when I move my various pieces on the chessboard, I move them in such a way that they are protected by at least 2 other pieces, preferably 3 if I can arrange it like that. But as a king, this is, protecting. And this happens in a myriad of forms, but protecting those who follow you is a very big responsibility. And when you take people under your wing, you have to make sure that you're dealing with people that you ain't going to be butting heads with or arguing with. So you don't want to be out with your lady and you tell her to duck and she don't, and then she get punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that as a king, it's your responsibility to make sure that you're dealing with people that trust you and trust what you're telling them to do. Right. And if you don't have that, then you need to go back to the drawing board, because somewhere along the way, you've gone wrong.
Right.
And like King Dre said, and I've noticed it, a lot of guys, they don't have any direction. This is why the conversation about getting on your purpose needs to be bigger than what it is. But I notice that a lot of guys, again, don't like to be accountable. They just, come on the internet for entertainment and bullshit. But another gentleman who speaks on this all the time, but he speaks on it in terms of having vision, is Professor MGTOW. And it's very, very important. This is a crucial part of not just you in your life as a person, but being a king make it even more crucial, because you got to have a long-term goal that's interconnected or intertwined with what your purpose is. Right. And if you don't know your purpose, if you don't have a long-term game plan, then how could you expect a woman to want to fuck with you?
Right.
Or even want to fuck you?
Right.
Unless she just horny at the moment. But I noticed that with a lot of guys, man, they lacking in this area. And the next area that a lot of guys are lacking in, and I just spoke on this earlier, in terms of material, and that is provision. But when you're dealing with shit like what Jeff Bezos did when he got divorced, and Will Smith, and who we just seen here, Dr. Dre, where you got to give up $300K a month. It's kind of hard to want to be a provider. But this is one of the reasons why I say that when women say that they're independent, let that shit roll off of your back like a raindrop off of a Gore-Tex jacket. It just slide right on down, because as long as men make everything, we are by default the providers, because a woman couldn't have a car, a house, a job, a bank account, maxi pads, panties, none of that shit without men, because we make all that shit.
Right.
Or we make a way for it to be made.
You know what's crazy? These hoes get on these apps and say, "Oh, man, independent," and they have all these movements, and men ain't shit. But you on an app that men programmed for you to be able to do that.
Facts.
You feel what I'm saying? You saying that shit on an app that men programmed. Just think about that.
On the internet that men built, on a computer that men built, in a house that some Mexicans built, and the car in her garage was built by some niggas in Detroit.
Right. And internet and Wi-Fi that men built and maintained, with electricity that men built and maintained. Like it's just the level. I try to stop. I ain't gonna lie, Top. I try not to look at stuff like that, because stuff like that make you not jaded, but shit like that, when you think about it too much, for me, it's like, fuck them hoes. They don't deserve no protection. So I understand why people say that. So I try to stay away from that game. I try to stay away from that and not pay attention to stuff like that. But when you really think about it, women will get on an app that men programmed and say men ain't shit, or I don't need a man, or and they don't realize that the luxury that they have was created by men for them. It's weird, man.
Oh, I think that women are well aware of the fact that they're not independent. I always say that women say it because it's feel good language. It makes them feel like, like Thor, I am mighty, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have to feel so bad about being women. But
I think, you know what I think though? I think they feel like that, because I always say it's just a defense mechanism. I think they know that in the confines of a relationship, but I don't think they realize to the magnitude of how much they need men. Like, I know deep down inside they get lonely at night and they just say I'm independent on the internet, but I don't think they've realized that a man built this app that I'm saying this bullshit on. You understand? I don't think they thinking that far. You feel me?
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I don't think they thinking as far as a man. The men are the ones under the sewer, making sure my house don't flood. You see what I'm saying? Men are the ones
making sure the water is clean and the power and
the water is clean, and waste more water management. I got a cousin that do that shit. Fellas, if you want to work for the city doing that, you need a job. Go work for the city doing water treatment and shit. They pay a lot of money. But my cousin, just things like that. So when you cook your rice, you don't fall over and die.
Mm-hmm.
You feel what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's men that do that.
Mm-hmm. When she pull up to the maintenance shop in that foreign, it's gonna be some niggas changing the oil,
right?
Because she can't get her 5-inch fingernails greasy. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I've learned. I pretty much laugh at it, but I say it to guys. Women will quickly shame me and accuse me of being a misogynist and all that crap. But they once they hear women ain't stupid. When they hear some logical shit, they know that it makes sense. Right, what I'm saying? But I say it to guys because I want guys to understand that it's not about being mean to women or nothing like that or disparaging women. It's for you to recognize your motherfucking value. Hey, bitch, I can improve your life. If all of the lights go out and the water go off, bitch, I could build a log cabin next to a stream. Can you do that? No? Okay. That's why you're supposed to be listening to what the fuck I'm saying.
Right.
And guys, I don't think they pick up on the subtlety of, that subtle message that I'm trying to communicate when I share that thought. They think they have a tendency to think, at least by the impression that I get, that I'm just talking shit about bitches, like the rest of these dudes do. I'm well beyond that.
Right.
Some other things about being a king is the way that kings move. Now, on a chessboard, the board itself is square. and the little individual spaces that the pieces are also square. Now, you know, in some contexts, square has a bad a negative connotation. But what I want to highlight to people is that the king in the game of chess is always on his square.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to highlight the fact that a lot of dudes be lying, especially the women. So could you speak to the importance of, or could you speak to what it is to be on your square and what is the significance of it?
For me, staying on your square means, you know, stand on your principles, stand on your morals, stand on what you believe in, stand on your passions, you know, being true to yourself, stand on your code, not going outside of that, like you say, lying and shit like that. Just being solid. You know, just being solid, not being able to be, you know, swayed emotionally, not being able to be taken advantage of. So yeah, and that's very important. But because if you can't do that, game over. When people see that you a liar, game over. When people see that they can take advantage of you, game over. When people see that, you know, you don't know how to move, game over. When people see, you know, you temperamental and you can't control yourself, and they can control you for you, game over. When people see that you know, you're weak and you're insecure, they coming, game over. So it's very important to stand on your square. You have to, as a king.
I agree 100%. When we often use these terms like principles, and basically what I want to say about that, so you know the guys will understand what's being said, is principles are just like rules or laws. It's a set of things that you are going to do and things that you aren't going to do in regards to everything in your life, particularly women, because if you don't have any boundaries, is another word for it. If you don't have any boundaries, first of all, you're not on your job being a man, because as a man, that's part of what you are to do, is to set up boundaries. You know, I mean, look at what we do across the planet. We set up imaginary boundaries on land. You can't go to the line of Georgia and South Carolina and see a line on the ground. You'll see a sign. But that to say that part of your job as a man is establishing boundaries or principles or rules or codes or to stand on your square. Because this is what that means. And a lot of you guys, you just hear these phrases, these catchphrases and these sound bites, and you don't really understand the mechanics behind the shit. And that's what this stream is all about. Another thing about the movements of the... Oh, man.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
He locked that wild animal up. Another thing about the way a king moves, particularly in the game of chess, you know, a lot of people think that the king is weak because he moved one square at a time.
Right.
In any direction. But what a lot of people fail to realize about that is that as a king, you have to take measured and calculated steps.
Right.
Because you'll fuck around and take one step too many and step right down into the fucking Grand Canyon, then you'll be dead. So can you speak on the importance of being mindful of how you move around in this thing that we call life, and how could that benefit those who follow you?
Yeah, you got to be careful. The game, I learned early on, the game is about what you don't fucking do, where you don't go, who you don't fuck with, who you don't invest in. You can't move reckless, just like in chess. And like you say, a lot of people who don't know or who have untrained minds think that because a king can only move one space at a time, that it's weak, right? And that's not true. The king just has to take calculated steps. The king has to be careful with where he goes. You can't be all out on Front Street. You can't be all out and about mingling next to anybody. You can't do that if you're a true king, or it's gonna be your demise. When you're a true king, people are coming for your head. I'll give you an example. I'm a content creator, right? And I'm not like fucking celebrity famous, but I'm to the point now to where I have to be careful with who I talk to. I have to be careful with the women that I choose to entertain. You understand? Because I can't just get next to anybody. I can't just make friends with anybody. I can't post up what I want. I can't post my life. I can't do a happy Mother's Day post. You understand? And post my mother. I have to be careful. I have to calculate my steps because I have a following, right? I have people who follow me. So I'm a king in that regard. And people are coming for my head. There's people who don't like what I say. So if I'm not careful, if I don't move wisely, bad stuff can happen. So that's just an example with me with what I do. But even in life, you have to be careful. When you're a manager or you're a CEO of a company, you can't do whatever you want to do. You can't say whatever you want to say. You have to be careful. You can't get next to anybody. You can't just lay up with any woman, or that can spell demise. You understand what I'm saying? It's very important when you have, when you're a top dog, when you're a boss and you're a king, when you're a leader, you have to be mindful of what you do, because not only are you at stake, for demise, the people that follow you. So when you go, your following goes. You understand what I'm saying? When you suffer, your people gonna suffer. When you fall off, the people who depend on you, gonna fall off. I don't know if you remember Big Meech, right? You remember Meech?
Yeah.
You remember Meech? Meech was a guy who wasn't careful with the way he moved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you familiar with like how he was moving around Atlanta and all over the world and shit?
Mm-hmm.
He a king that wasn't careful who he got next to, wasn't careful how he moved. This man was doing his thing for 20 years undetected. But the minute he started moving crazy and moving reckless, he fell. He didn't last a few years until he fell. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It literally didn't take 2-3 years and he was out of there. And hundreds of other men who depended on him, because there was a big organization. Hundreds of other men who depended on him. So if you got 100 men depending on you, how many children depending on you from those 100 men? How many families? How many women? You understand what I'm saying? So once you go, all of this stops. And not for nothing, I was out there when this happened. This had a trickle down effect everywhere. This affected everybody, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
It was like the Sahara Desert for a long time.
Yeah.
When that happened. It was everywhere,
Oh, yeah.
even on a low level.
I'm hip.
You feel what I'm saying? So even if you had nothing to do with them, you wasn't affiliated with them, you felt that if you was out there. Like it was fucked up for a long time. So that's what happens when kings don't move properly, when they don't calculate their steps, when they get comfortable.
Indeed. And I would like to say, and this is directed at us black guys specifically, we got to get off this wanting to show off shit. Mm-hmm. First of all, nobody really gives a fuck because you ain't got as much as the real big dogs got.
Right.
And then the second downside of being a show off is them wolves will start looking at you and salivating and licking their goddamn canines.
Yeah, the wolves come out.
Yeah, you got to be careful how you move. I mean, we see all this shit because I'm from the end of the rotary phone era. I was, growing up when touch-tone phones first came into existence, and now we got motherfucking phones that's practically computers. But
right.
I remember back then when, we didn't have motherfuckers on TV doing the money phone nonsense.
Nah, the most guys did back then, in that era was, flash at the club, right?
Exactly.
Go to the club and do their little thing, but you didn't have all of this.
And if you wasn't in that lifestyle, you didn't even see
it. Yeah, you didn't even know it. Yeah, you had to be you know, it wasn't on broadcast for the world, and you know, the police had to literally like stake like sweat to catch them. Like, you know, the police had to literally put their lives on the line to you. They had to work for that. They had to work to catch these guys. It wasn't like they was like, you know, flashing around. Nah, it wasn't like that. Of course, they had their cars and their women and shit. But now niggas even like sell weed and shit and like stuff on Facebook and just like broadcast. That shit is fucking insane. I just don't understand it. But yeah, it's gonna cost you your demise because wolves are out here. My little cousin, little young, my cousin is probably 22 at this point. This is a couple years ago when he first started to, you know, experience his little money and, you know, shit like that. I remember him posting this, doing his little money phone. I remember him doing this little money phone thing on his Instagram. And so I made a comment. I was like, looking like dinner. It's like, you looking like dinner, cuz. You know, because I'm really a wolf, right? I'm like, you looking like dinner. And I'm just trying to look out for my cousin. And he was like, I ain't know how they gonna do nothing and da 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 da. So it's like, all right. Now I know how my cousin move. I know where he be at. And so I slid up on him one day, you know, because I was like, I'm gonna catch him one day. So I slid on him one day and just to remind him that's how easy it is. Of course, I ain't do nothing to him, but I caught him with his head down in his phone one day, sitting in his car. And I tapped on the window and I was like, this is how easy it is. This is how easy it is. If you're sitting down with your head in your goddamn phone, you got to be careful, man.
Hey, I'm a tiger. I stalk my motherfucking prey from a distance.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna talk about none of my exploits publicly and shit because I could still have outstanding warrants or something somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm from North. Shit, pull your motherfucking money out in North if you want to. You smell like fried bologna, nigga.
Right.
And niggas is hungry. So
right.
You know, I say that to say, especially to these young guys, man, you young guys that's 35 and under, stop being a fucking show off.
Right.
You really ain't got that much to show off just yet, but it's coming.
They think that just because they're not in the streets that they don't have wolves. There's always wolves, bro. Wolves wear suits. Wolves wear nice dresses. Wolves are soft, sweet, and feminine. Wolves have college degrees and they dress real well. There are wolves, bro.
Shit, they got a whole movie called The Wolf of Wall Street.
right. So whenever you flashing your money, there's people looking to take it from you. Whenever you flash in luxury, there's people who are aiming to take your money. And a lot of in being as though a lot of you guys aren't street, you in a square world. Square wolves are more dangerous and more clever than street wolves. You can see a street wolf from a mile away. You can't spot a square wolf, right? And square meaning not street, civilian, so to speak. And they don't come with guns, and they make you part from your money while you smile. You understand? So be mindful of that. Be mindful of flashing things because there are people out here to separate your money, separate you from your money. If it's not, you know, wolves, it's women. Women are hardwired to when you show off, you attract a different level of manipulative woman. The women who know how to go after guys with money are manipulative on another level that most of you guys aren't ready for. So just be careful.
Indeed, I agree 100%. We right at the hour mark, King Dre.
I
appreciate you for coming through and kicking it with me on this episode of the Top Cast, episode number 2, Chess Talk. We're talking all about the King. This episode featured the King and I, none other than your Grace's Game Advisor, Captain Saber Bro, King Dre. Before we get out of here, plug your social media one more time, and then I'm going to take you guys out with my little homie Jay Geezer one more time with his hot joint called Straight from the City.
Yeah, so go follow me on all social media at Kingdreism, KINGDREISM. Appreciate you, brother, for having me on. Appreciate that. I know you don't like that brother shit, but hey, it's hard. I'd rather call you that than nigga.
You're not like somebody who I don't kick it with. So it's different. You get a free pass.
Yeah, but yeah, I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's a pleasure.
No doubt. Anytime. And I'm gonna have you here again soon. I want to say salute to Black Rain for coming through, Ted Matrix, and I want to say turkeys, but he ain't even spell that shit right. Turkis. I guess that's how you would say it. Appreciate all you guys who came through and commented and participated. All you folks who just sat back and watched. Make sure all of y'all bang the like button for me. You can follow me on my social media. I got 2 Instagram pages, the Incredible T.O.P and the Top Cast Instagram page. Also, you can catch episodes of the Top Cast on Anchor Podcast or your favorite podcast outlet when you at the gym or you at work or you just driving around aimlessly in your car looking for a gas station. Check me out. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so now. Bring a friend and hide your auntie, nigga, because the summer ain't over. Until next time, I'll be back tomorrow night. Episode, I think it's episode 17 of the Kings of Comedy, featuring me, the homie Ro, and the homie Tone You a Fool. Again, thanks a million, Dre, for coming through and kicking it with me on this subject on this episode of the Top Cast.
For sure. Appreciate you, bro.
No doubt. All right. Till next time, folks. Peace. Sunny day on a bluffing and so good. Take a look at the city that me. Ride around showing love to the whole hood. Who you know can do it like me. I'm just playing the game, but every day ain't the same. So I'ma ride for the city, I die for the city, straight from the city.
Yeah, waking up in the morning, weekend weather, fly birds outside yawning. Last night was on and popping, get the song to the next one. I pause for a second, I'm focused. Back got the flow tip, back got the potion. Earth, wind, and fire, moms, pops at it program, but it don't get no better. Stack cheddar on the regular, NY down to NC, playing that bigger dog. Despite the niggas right, I is back on my grind. A fist full of dollars, I'm on fire. Flow like rivers now, tigers with stripes like a tiger. Speech for my kinfolk admire people that get dough. I'm all about the checks, Nikes, dreaming about who next up, rolling in that. I cruise through the city, passing extras, director yelling action. Fly mommies popping bottles, shots full of army. I took a glance at a fly lady. I cruise like a hustler to the paper, it's only nature. Shorty got some nice racks, some rats, and a smooth money maker, yeah. Got me feeling like Nas in my book of rhymes. You play in the orchestra, bet that you can feel these lines. In my mind, reminiscing, changing eyes, spitting subliminal lines, hitting pictures of moments in time. Reminiscing, summarizing the 20th song. And got a vision of a rebel standing next to God. Yo, that's a vision of a devil falling from the sky. And why? Nigga, check my level when I'm on the grind. Ahead of my time, know I'm kinda like fighting for my life in the dark, and ain't no sign of light. Evolution in your life, choosing wrong and right. In 21 niggas still be trying to sound alike, trying to do it big and live the style of life. Style sincere like Nasir, but all I need's one mic. Looking from the eyes of a little nigga on the grind, sparks like my rib tie when I pull up on the block. I try to tell you it's just us, nigga. You say you do it all yourself, and that's what's up, nigga. I try to hit you to the plan, let you know that I'm the man. Got my city with me everywhere we go. Got the fam, 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 got the fam.
sunny day on the mountain and sober. Take a look, you can see what I'm leading. Run around, so I love to the over. Who you know to do it like me? I'm just playing the game, but you know every day ain't the same. So I'ma ride for the city, I die for the city, straight from the city. Straight from the city.